Witches being persecuted and burned alive. Torture rituals. Sacrifices. Devotion. Confession by torture. Obsession with death. Today we're cracking open the tomb of time to uncover the dark history of Easter, to unearth the chilling, untold truth behind a holiday bathed in light. Hey everyone, welcome to the Zap Curious channel. Stay until the end. The final secret will haunt. Let's go to the video, have fun. Easter, a time of pastel colors, chocolate bunnies, and joyful resurrection celebrations. But behind the egg hunts and church services lies a history far darker, stranger, and more twisted than you've ever imagined. This time, we venture beyond the festive facade of Easter, to expose the ghostly echoes and frightening truths hidden beneath centuries of tradition, though its bright colors and joyful rituals captivate millions. Few dare to explore the macabre legends, forgotten tragedies, and disturbing origins that linger in its shadows. Are you ready to face the darkness behind the decorations? Grab your basket, because things are about to get weird. The pagan roots. To understand Easter's dark origins, we need to rewind over 1,500 years, to a time when Europe's forests echoed with chants to forgotten gods. Long before chocolate eggs and church services, pagan tribes celebrated the spring equinox with rituals that were equal parts beautiful and brutal. At the heart of it all was Easter, the enigmatic Germanic goddess of dawn, fertility, and rebirth. Tribes like the Angles and Saxons honored her with feasts, bonfires, and offerings of bread shaped like hairs, symbol of fertility. But here's where it gets murky. Easter might not have even existed. Wait, what? A goddess that wasn't real? The revered Northumbrian monk Bede, an 8th century Christian scholar, remains our only witness to Easter's dark legacy. According to the 8th century monk Bede, pagan Anglo-Saxons honored the dawn goddess Easter during Eostermineth in the month of April, a spring festival steeped in renewal rituals and offerings. But there's no archaeological evidence of her worship, no statues, no temples. Some historians like Dr. Karol Cusack argue Easter was either a minor deity or a total fabrication by the church to rebrand pagan spring festivals. Think of it as ancient propaganda. Hey, these heathen rituals? They're actually about our resurrection now. Whether Easter was real or not, her symbols, eggs, rabbits, and spring flowers were already deeply rooted in pre-Christian Europe. Eggs represented cosmic creation myths. Think the world egg from Norse and Greek legends. Rabbits. They symbolized lust and chaos, thanks to their infamous reproductive habits. But when Christianity spread across Europe, the church didn't erase these rituals. They absorbed them. In 325 AD, the Council of Nicaea declared Easter would fall on the first Sunday after the first full moon following the spring equinox. Sound familiar? That's because it aligned with existing pagan spring festivals, making conversion easier. Even the name Easter is controversial. In most languages, it's called Pascha, from Passover. But in English and German, it's tied to Easter, a ghostly reminder of the holiday's pagan past. And let's not forget the darker side of these spring rites. Pagan celebrations often include animal or even human blood sacrifices to ensure fertile harvests. The Frisians, a Germanic tribe, reportedly drowned people in bogs as offerings to Nerthus, the earth goddess. By the Middle Ages, the church was still battling heretical Easter practices. In 742 AD, the Council of Leptines banned Christians from dressing up as deer or calves during Easter week, a direct attack on lingering pagan masquerades. So was Easter stolen from pagans? Not exactly. It's more like a Frankenstein's monster of traditions, stitched together from spring equinox festivals, fertility cults. But the next time you bite the head off a chocolate bunny, remember, you're reenacting a ritual that once involved real blood. Blood, bunnies, and the Black Death. By the 14th century, Easter had become a holiday haunted by death itself. The Black Death ravaged Europe, wiping out nearly 60% of the population. In this apocalyptic atmosphere, Easter's symbols took a sinister turn, especially the humble rabbit. Today, bunnies are all cottontails and carrot nibbles, but back then, they were omens of doom. Medieval Europeans believed rabbits were demonic familiars. Their burrows symbolized graves, their rapid breeding echoed the plague's spread, and their silence Well, that was just creepy. But the darkest legend is the bunny of death. In England, farmers claimed seeing a white hare foretold a family member's death. Some even swore hares were witches in disguise, sent to curse their crops. To fight back, people turned to brutal rituals. In Germany, villagers practiced hare torturing, ritualistically killing hares to purify their land. They'd hang hare carcasses on doors, burn them in bonfires, or bury them under crossroads to trap evil spirits. The Strasbourg Plague. In 1349, during the Strasbourg Plague, chronicles describe townspeople drowning hundreds of hares in the Rhine River as a sacrifice to God. It didn't work, but the church wasn't having it. They tried to rebrand rabbits as symbols of Christ's resurrection. Look, they emerged from burrows, just like Jesus from the tomb. But the peasants didn't believe it. The rabbits got scary. Even Easter eggs got a macabre makeover. In Poland, people painted eggs black during plagues. Etching prayers for protection in Austria, they buried eggs in graves to feed the dead. But the rabbit's dark reputation peaked in 1665. When the Great Plague of London hit, rabbit fur traders were blamed for spreading the disease. Mobs burned their shops, convinced the devil himself lurked in their fluffy pelts. Fast forward to today, how did we go from plague-avoiding hare sacrifices to the Easter bunny? Blame 18th century German immigrants. They brought the Osterhaze tradition to America, a sanitized version of those old rituals. But deep down, that cute bunny still has fangs. Next time you see a kid hugging the Easter bunny at the mall, just remember, 700 years ago, that costume might have gotten you burned at the stake. The witch trials connection. Easter's association with rebirth took a grotesque turn during Europe's witch-hunting frenzy. Between 1450 and 1750, tens of thousands of witches, mostly women, were tortured, drowned, or burned alive. And Easter, with its mix of springtime superstition and religious fervor, became a deadly season for the accused. Meet the witch's bridle, a torture device used to silence women during Easter week. Why Easter? Because the holiday's themes of purification and rebirth made it prime time for scapegoating, failed crops, plague outbreaks. Blame the village witch and make her pay during Holy Week. Witch trials took place at various locations. It's map showing major witch trials in Germany, France, and Switzerland. On a chilling Easter Monday in 1679, the quiet Bavarian village of Oberstdorf erupted in horror. Flames consumed Anna Merschel, a woman condemned to die in agony. Her crime, witchcraft, or so they claimed. But why target her on a day meant for resurrection? The answer reveals a twisted irony buried in Easter's past. But Anna wasn't alone. Alsace records show a spike in witch trials during Lent. With executions timed to Easter Sunday as a gift to God, a handwritten trial record from 1582, on Good Friday, the witch Margaretha confessed under torture to copulating with the devil in the shape of a hare. Notice the hare reference. Rabbits weren't just plague omens, they were proof of witchcraft. In Sweden, the Easter hare was literally put on trial in 1675. Yes, a rabbit was charged with witchcraft. A courtroom scene where a priest holds up a squirming hare, shouting, "This creature is Satan's spy," as villagers scream, "Burn it." But the true horror lies in how Easter rituals were weaponized. In Germany, Walpurgis Night, April 30th, the eve of May Day, was believed to be when witches gathered to desecrate Easter. To protect villages, authorities intensified hunts in March and April, using Holy Week confessions as divine evidence. It was common to use a 17th century spiked witch's chair to torture confessions during Lent. One of the most chilling cases comes from Trier, Germany. In 1589, Easter week interrogations led to over 300 executions. The accusers swore these victims danced at twisted midnight Sabbaths, rituals where they mocked crucifixions and defiled sacred symbols. But what evidence condemned them? A neighbor's jealous rumor? A birthmark branded the devil's seal? Or something far darker? A twisted version of communion Witches were forced to confess they drank blood, not wine, and ate human flesh, not bread. Even children weren't spared. In 1627, under the merciless crush of thumbscrews, 12-year-old Agnes Schmidt screamed a confession that would horrify a nation. Her mother, she claimed, had transformed her into a hare to infiltrate Easter Sunday, tainting sacred bread with a curse. Oh, but why target a child? And why twist the symbol of the resurrection's innocence into a vessel of terror? The truth is more sinister than fiction. Both were burned. The church's message? Easter was a battleground between God and witches, and they'd make examples of anyone who dared defy the divine. By the 18th century, the witch trials faded, but their legacy haunted Easter. In the shadowed valleys of 19th century Austria, villagers whispered of hexenare witch eggs. Chicken eggs dyed jet black with soot and hidden in barn rafters, hearthstones, or buried beneath doorsteps. These eerie talismans, steeped in folk magic, were thought to absorb curses, deflect hexes, and trap wandering spirits drawn to spring's thinning veil between worlds. And in America, Salem's witch hysteria borrowed Isa's obsession with purging sin, though it happened in fall. So why don't we talk about this? Because history loves a comeback story. The church rebranded Easter as hope and chocolate, not burning women alive. But the next time you hear he is risen, remember, for thousands of witches, Easter wasn't salvation, it was a death sentence. Macabre Easter traditions. Whips cracking in Slovakia, hooded Spanish penitents, and Filipino crucifixions. Shocking rituals, with whips cracking across the back. Self-crucifixions, interspersed with joyful Easter parades for a striking contrast. While most of us hunt for eggs, parts of the world celebrate Easter with rituals that'd make Hannibal Lecter squirm. Let's tour the globe's most macabre traditions, where faith, folklore, and outright brutality collide. Slovakia's Whipping Monday. In Slovakia, Easter Monday isn't about candy, it's about ritualized violence. Men whip women with willow rods, called korbayi, supposedly to ensure health and fertility. The women thank them with painted eggs or shots of brandy, but don't be fooled by the smiles. In 2018, a viral video showed a man whipping a tourist who mistook it for a game. Locals shrugged. Tradition is tradition. Slovakian woman laughs nervously. It doesn't hurt much, but my grandmother said if you cry, you'll be barren. Spain's hooded penitents. Spain's Semana Santa is a spectacle of medieval horror, shrouded in stark pointed hoods, hauntingly similar to the KKK. The Nazarenos march in eerie silence. Some crush their bare feet on cobblestones, others drag iron chains, all to atone for sins during a centuries-old Easter ritual. But why adopt a symbol of terror for an act of devotion? The answer lies in a jarring paradox, where faith collides with the shadows of sacrifice, and a tradition far older than you think. In 1521, the Brotherhood of Silence in Valladolid took it further. Members flagellated themselves with glass-studded whips until the streets ran red. 17th century whip with iron hooks, used in sacrifices today. They've swapped glass for wax, but the vibe, cult meets carnival. A haunting spectacle where cult devotion clashes with carnival chaos. Beneath the pointed hoods, is this reverence or ritual madness?
The Philippines.
Real crucifixions. Every Good Friday in the Philippines, devout Catholics reenact Christ's crucifixion for real. In San Pedro Cuded, faith turns to fury. The devotees, with nails piercing their flesh, ropes binding their limbs, embrace the cross under a scorching sun. Blood stains the earth. But is this raw devotion, or a sacred spectacle gone too far? Volunteers like Ruben Inage, nailed 34 times since 1985, have their hands and feet pierced with sterilized ezolized. But unanesthetized, the church condemns it. But locals call it panada in 2022. A man died of sepsis days after participating. Yet the line of volunteers grows yearly. The burning of Judas in Greece. Effigies of Judas Iscariot stuffed with fireworks, exploding in town squares as children cheer. In Corfu, Greeks burn effigies of Judas on Easter Sunday, a tradition rooted in medieval anti-Semitism. The effigies, often grotesque caricatures with hooked noses, explode into flames while crowds chant. In 2019, Jewish groups petitioned to end the practice. Villagers dismiss it as harmless folklore, until smoldering embers reveal names, threats, and curses scorched into the ashes. Is this tradition, or a warning in disguise? Norway's PPS cream, Easter crime? Norway's PPS cream, Easter crime, is a bizarre cultural tradition where the entire nation becomes obsessed with crime stories during Easter. Since 1923, locals devour murder mysteries during Holy Week. It began in 1923 when two authors, desperate for cash, placed a fake ad in a newspaper framing their crime novel as a real murder case. The public went wild and the genre exploded. Publishers released PC Ekram books where priests get poisoned and bunnies turn serial killers. Even milk cartons print mini-mysteries. Jesus rises from the tomb, while Norway devours murder mysteries. What's the holy connection? Theology has no answers. Hades Rara, Voodoo, Easter. Vibrant but eerie processions with skull-faced dancers, twirling machetes, and rum-fueled drumming. In Haiti, Easter merges Catholicism with Vodou in the Rara festival. Participants honor spirits Elwa with all-night parades, but it's not all dancing. In 2012, a blood-soaked ritual shocked the world. A Rara procession meant to honor ancestors descended into horror when a band beheaded a man, offering his skull to Baron Samedi, the Vodou god of death. Was this faith, frenzy, or a pact with the darkest forces of the spirit world? The truth. Easter here isn't resurrection. It's a dance with the dead. Police rarely intervene. After all, how do you arrest a ghost? Italy's Scapio del Caro. Explosion of the cart. A 500-year-old wooden cart loaded with fireworks explodes in Florence's Cathedral Square. Flames licking church walls. Florence's exploding cart tradition sounds fun until you learn its origin. In 1099, a crusader lit a holy fire from Jerusalem's ashes and blasted it into a crowd to purify them. Today, the Pope sends blessed fireworks to reignite the cart. But in 1677, it toppled and burned down a chapel. God's will? Pyromaniac pilgrims, you decide? From flagellant whips to Faustian witchcraft, Easter's rituals scream one truth. Humanity's obsession with death and rebirth isn't just spiritual, it's grindingly, gloriously macabre, remember? History's menu was far darker. Could have been the sacrificial lamb, or worse, the hare. Easter's modern mysteries. Easter's cheerful facade conceals enigmatic oddities, like augmented reality egg hunts, glitching to reveal cryptic symbols that vanish before they can be deciphered. AI-generated Easter greetings occasionally print hidden messages in dead languages, generating debates about whether algorithms are echoing forgotten rites. Urban legends swirl around cursed chocolate eggs that never melt, their glossy shells defying physics and unnerving even scientists. In remote villages, hollow eggs filled with ash or soil mysteriously appear on doorsteps. Whispers swirl among the villagers, weaving tales of ill-fated omens entwined with archaic agrarian rites that linger in the mist-shrouded hills. A viral TikTok trend revives the obscure practice of midnight egg burials that exhume forgotten folklore. Moonlit rituals where core-stained eggs are buried in silent soil. As Gen Z resurrects cryptic midnight ceremonies once whispered to placate vanished harvest spirits, only for participants to report phantom knocks and whispers days later. Silent processions of hooded figures still wander cobblestone streets in Europe, scattering wilted flowers, a ritual even locals refuse to explain. Easter's greatest mystery endures. Why a holiday of renewal feels increasingly haunted by the uncanny, as if the past refuses to stay buried. Easter's oldest enigma lingers. Why a dawn of resurrection thickens with the uncanny. Chalk-white lilies trembling like specters at empty tombs. The past here is a charnel ground, whispers through cracked church stones. Grave cloth snagged on spring roots as if renewal itself unravels into a reckoning, the soil exhuming what liturgy cannot sanctify. Easter's primordial riddle persists. Why does resurrection's dawn sour into the spectral? Bone-pale lilies shiver like ghosts above vacant graves, while the past festers beneath. A sepulchre of murmurs hissing through fractured chapel walls, roots clawing through burial shrouds. What's the truth about Easter? So, what's the truth about Easter? Is it a celebration of hope? Or a holiday stitched together from blood, fear, and forgotten ghosts? Maybe it's both. For 2,000 years, humanity's used this season to confront the darkest parts of life: death, decay, and the desperate need to believe something comes after. But the oldest enigma of Easter persists. The step and the present coexist between lilies and thorns, witches, priests, rituals. What's the truth about Easter? This isn't a video to ruin Easter for you. This isn't about dismantling the magic of Easter. It's about uncovering the hidden truths that shaped it. Think of this as a journey into the shadows where folklore, faith, and forgotten origins collide. The chocolate eggs and pastel hues are just the surface. It's a reminder that history isn't just his story, it's ours. The good, the grotesque, and the gaps we fill with faith are lies. So next Easter Sunday, when you bite into that marshmallow peep or chocolate bunny, ask yourself, what am I really consuming, or not? Ignorance is bliss until the past comes knocking. The story is the same. It's messy, uncomfortable, and hungry. But it is among us, in customs, traditions, old books. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, help us produce more interesting videos. Click the like button to prove your devotion. Subscribe to keep watching future videos. Share with your friends.